there is a lot of money out there looking for a home, looking for a place to invest. And since the Jobs Act of 2012, this whole thing that we do right now, and that is go out and raise money without doing a formal IPO, has really opened up, well, lots of opportunities, not only for us as sponsors and as fund managers, but for investors. And so what I've seen happen over the last few years is that people really are trying to struggle with, okay, who should I invest with? Should I invest with this guy, this gal? What is it? How do I figure all this out? Because, I think in some cases they kind of view it as the Wild West, right? It's not really regulated. All these offerings are exempt from SEC scrutiny, so to speak, because they meet the requirements. And I'm totally for that. So what I found, I thought long and hard about this, and this concept kind of evolved over time. And what I came down to was four things that if you're a passive investor, if you can just follow these four kind of rules or guidelines, nothing's going to make or guarantee that you're going to have a perfect investment. But what it'll do is help you identify the red flags. It'll help you, perk your ears up. It'll give you what you need to follow your gut and either invest or not invest. So the first one, it's kind of obvious. I mean, you should always try to invest with somebody with experience, right? That just makes sense. I mean, the more experience somebody has, you would hope the better chances they will have for success. And it's of course experience matters, but it's why experience is so important is what is important to me. And that is, like I said, we've been around since 97. So we've seen so many real estate cycles, including 08, 09. We've seen the credit markets just completely shut down. We've seen situations when people weren't able to manage their debt maturities and their interest rate risk and all that kind of stuff that's completely unrelated to real estate, right? It has nothing to do with, do you put a new kitchen in or not? This is, financial stuff and things like that. So it's that experience that hopefully puts your management team in a position where that they have been there, done that, and they might be well equipped to figure out how to deal with whatever's coming next, right? When you just think back over the last few years, nobody predicted COVID. Then nobody predicted this massive inflation. Then nobody predicted interest rate rise that has just been unbelievable. I mean, it's just nearly impossible to deal with if you weren't careful when you set up your loans. So number one is experience. Number two, it kind of goes along with that, but track record. And you want somebody to be able to verify their track record, right? So there's two types of track records. One is to say we bought this and we bought that, or we've been part of large groups that bought this and bought that. What's really important is, has that firm gone full cycle on their deals? If they've gone full cycle, now they started, they operated, they stopped, and they made money. Now the deal's done, right? Especially with syndications, because you're buying one asset, you're buying in, you're running it, you're making money at the end. And it's hard to argue, did they make money or not? Because the money in and out tells the story there. So that track record is important. Now, what's even more important, there used to be a company out there called Verivest. They're still around. They would verify sponsors' track records. And we hired them several years ago to go back and dig through our 25 years, 26 years of history and literally verify every single transaction that we've done. So we paid them a lot of money to do this, because I thought it was really important that if I said to you, Anthony, hey, look at my track record, I've done really well and blah, 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 that you have some reason to think that I didn't just make it up and put it down on a piece of paper, right? I mean, what's to stop people from doing that? Well, Verivest existed for that purpose, right? To look under the hood. I had to send them settlement statements and operating agreements and tax returns. And I mean, it was a horrific process, as it should be over the last 25 years. But we got through it. Now they no longer actually provide that service, but they've already vetted us. So we're continue to be on their website. You can see our track record as they have verified it on their website. So that kind of stuff is important to me. So you got experience, now you got track record. And then the third thing I want you to do is think about, and this one's harder, but you want your sponsor or the firm that you're invested with to align your goals with theirs and do everything possible to make sure that they put you first, right? So it's alignment and putting you first. What you don't want to do, and the best way, I've gone round and round in my head trying to figure out how to help people figure this out. I mean, what does that mean? Put me first. Well, first thing you got to do is read the document, read the private placement memorandum, and just see who gets money and when, because that's really what it all boils down to. And then figure out, okay, is it possible for that sponsor to do really well and me not as the investor? Well, if the answer to that question is, yeah, the sponsor can make a killing and I can just do okay, well, then maybe you should rethink that particular investor. Now, as you know, the terms are all over the market, right? They're all over the map in terms of how the waterfalls go and this profit sharing and all that kind of stuff. All I would say is, and you're probably never going to find, I think it's probably impossible to find perfect alignment, but what you want to do is make sure that those terms put you and that sponsor together so that you're both focused on the exact same thing. That's what's important, and that they not get paid out before you do, right? That just seems counterintuitive to me. And then the last thing, which, believe it or not, I hear the most complaints about when we talk to investors, and it just blows my mind, and that is transparency, right? So you go back to the Verivest thing. I mean, you can't get much more transparent than that, hiring somebody we spent 5 figures plus trying to get them, to have them go through our track record. That's a level of transparency that I think is critical in this business. So what we hear a lot is, I invested, but then I didn't hear again from the sponsor for 6 months, right? You don't, I mean, it just blows my mind. Like, how could you do that? How could anyone do that to an investor? But they do it. So what you want to do is ask around, how transparent is this? What kind of communication can you expect from that sponsor? We, for example, first of all of our investors have my cell phone and my email address. If they have a question, they can call me anytime they want, and I'm going to give them the real answer. Secondly, we do quarterly distributions, and along with that, we've been told they like this. They really like this. So we send them all the financials, the P&L, the balance sheet, the rent roll, all that kind of stuff. But we also take the time to write up a narrative, right? So maybe the property's in the middle of a renovation. We tell them exactly what's going on in each one of the projects and send them pictures and do things like that. It's transparency. It's that level of transparency, because on the other end of the spectrum, like I said, some people just don't communicate with their investors, or they get a generic response when they do have a question. Or they just, they might get financials from time to time, but they have no idea what's behind them because the financials are so condensed and so summarized that it really doesn't really have any real value. So experience, track record, make sure they put you first and make sure you're aligned there, your goals are aligned. And then finally, transparency. If you can nail those 4 things, and I'm sure there's probably something else, but if you can nail those 4 things, I feel like you're going to go a long way to finding those things that might, stress you about a particular sponsor. If you like the content that we've shared here, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell. So thank you again, and have a wonderful day.